Okay, ladies and gentlemen, officially the key handed over. And now, for those who are not aware, here at the Esports World Cup, that key that Nihal is walking with officially represents a player's tournament life. That represents a player's tournament life. And right now, Nihal has to crush his opponent's key, our first one of this event. Congratulations. Only needing one more to qualify for the finals, ladies and gentlemen. One more for top 8. Nihal right here. You can press ahead to crush your opponent's key. This is for all events. Yeah, you just press this forward, brother. Yeah, no worries. It's all good. Don't worry. You're safe. Big Hollywood keep you safe. Don't worry about it, Serene. Okay, there's going to be a little bit of a pop. Be covering the ears up, too. Okay, and it's done. And it is officially done. Ladies and gentlemen, right here, this is the highest level of play as Nihal Serene takes out Wei Yi and only needs one more in order to push his ticket all the way into the top 8. We're going to be right back with even more EWC. Let's send things to the studio.
And the first official key has been crushed in day number 3, and Wei Yi is officially out of the tournament. But what a run he had from the play-ins into yesterday's competition to today. And man, I gotta say, it was a battle till the very end. And Mike, you are calling it probably the most exciting match out of the past 3 days.
That's right. Nihal got to show his speed in the end, and he was actually a little bit unfortunate to even have to go to Armageddon. We're going to take a look at Game 1's missed opportunity in a moment, but Anna and I were joking. They need to put heart rate monitors on us. We've seen everything in the chess world, and we could not sit still watching that final match. Anna, what were your thoughts on that Armageddon?
Absolutely. I mean, we were both glued to the screen. We couldn't believe what was happening. Nihal was having such a winning position for a long time, but the time was ticking, and the nerves were there, and what an epic finish it was.
The only thing we were deprived of was Nihal pre-moving 32 moves in a row to do the king and rook mate. Wei Yi didn't make him do that, but other than that, that match had everything.
Everything indeed, and history between the two, at least when it comes to their performance last year at EWC. They both made it to the to the main stage. Wei Yi walking away 9th through 12th. Nihal Sarin, though, getting 5th through 8th, and he's getting closer now, one match away from getting to that point. We're going to see him in just a little bit, but for Wei Yi, again, just to celebrate his accomplishments, to make it to this point, to make it to that stage, protecting his key as long as he did. I mean, Anna, he had a phenomenal tournament.
He absolutely did. I mean, he was looking unstoppable in the last chance qualifier. Wei Yi was just amazing. He's done a great tournament also versus Alireza Firouzja. It was such a close match. We know that Alireza is one of the favorites in the whole tournament. So Wei Yi should leave being very proud of himself. He's done a fantastic tournament.
Absolutely phenomenal tournament indeed. But let's go back to Game 1, which really set the tone, honestly. And I think this was a moment, Anna, that you were particularly passionate about, and you pulled it out. What are we going to be discussing?
I was very excited when I saw this on the screen because it looked as if Nihal was just able to win a piece. This was the moment. We see that the queen and the rook are both attacking the knight. And in that previous position, when the rook was in the center, White could have pushed the pawn, attacked the rook, and wait, this is a little bit later. But Nihal had a moment there where he really could have force the rook to move away from the protection of the knight. There we go. F4. The rook doesn't have any place to go. He's pushing the pawn 2 steps forward, attacking the rook. And no matter where the rook goes, the rook can be attacked again. And then the protection of the knight is gone. And Nihal would win a piece, which at that level would basically mean winning the game.
I usually make a joke on my channel. You can't push your F-pawn without my written permission. But Anna, of course, you have my written permission. F4 deflects the rook away from the knight. And he would have saved himself about 30 minutes of heartache. But but now he's a little bit more battle tested. The only thing that Nihal wasn't prepared for was crushing the key. He was apprehensive about pulling the levers. My hand going to get stuck in the machine?
No, perfectly safe out there, I promise you. But I got to say, yeah, the key crushing is an exciting aspect of it, and he might have to get used to it because he might be crushing yet another key today. Now, for Wei Yi, again, we celebrate his accomplishments. He's been playing incredibly well. Unfortunately, his key has been crushed. However, it doesn't mean that we don't get a chance to catch up with him after that matchup. John Sargent sat down with them. Let's hear what Wei Yi had to say.
Wei Yi, sorry to be talking to you under these circumstances. Please talk to us about that Armageddon game. When we saw Bishop takes d4, it looked like a really crazy middle game.
Yes, I think it was like on my computer, but I'm not sure after e3. I think black should be okay, but I think maybe I went wrong after maybe after queen b3. Yeah, I think should be okay for me, but in a garden game, everything can happen, and yeah. And maybe rook d7 was the mistake. After that, he played b4 and many accurate moves. And after that, yeah, I think I missed the move rook a4. After that, black was just lost.
Now, towards the end of that game, yes, Nihal was winning, but at the same time, both of you were getting very, very low on the clock. We thought someone was going to flag, but you ended up resigning in the end. Do you think you might have been able to try something different to maybe try to flag him?
Yes, maybe, but I think I didn't have too much experience on bullet games, so yeah, so maybe I should play more bullets. Yes, after this.
Well, look, he's been crushed here at the EWC, but at the same time, it's been a very long tournament. You've gotten very far in it as well. Talk to us about your overall experience at this tournament.
Yeah, I think it's even I'm out today, but I think it's really a special experience for me. And yeah, I really enjoyed the games, and yeah, in like LCQ and also in the main events.
Thank you very much, Wei Yi. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doom scrolling is cringe. Chess is fun. Get all the dopamine of looking at your screen and none of the guilt when you're improving your mind with chess. Want to improve at your own pace? Take a few seconds to complete a puzzle and learn something new. Don't be cringe. Play chess. There's something for everyone at chess.com. Learn, play, and have fun.
Thank you, John, as always, for the great interview. Anna, getting a little bit of insights into Wei Yi's mind in that matchup.
Absolutely, and we know that Wei Yi said that he's going to practice more bullet in the future so that he can get even better at flagging opponents. I look forward to seeing Wei Yi playing more one-minute chess.
Yeah, either way, highly consistent, back-to-back EWC appearances. Who knows, maybe next year we'll be seeing him once again. But regardless, though, around the venue, man, it's been insane. I'm hearing fans cheer every which way, left and right. And Trav is going to give us the update with Club Championship Update powered by Aramco.
We're over here at the SDC Arena, and it's Rocket League still throughout the rest of this week. We just had a bit of a kind of rumble going on behind us because Falcons have managed to get a win on the board.
Yeah.
It might not mean too much leaderboard movement, but they're definitely catching up.
Well, to be fair, it does put them 50 points behind AGAL. So considering some of the other games that are happening this week over for chess, and also the fact that they are now in that top 8 with an opportunity to catch even more points here on Rocket League, I think that is quite big for Falcons. This is exactly what they were hoping to get because they looked so strong as well doing this.
Yeah, I will say as well, this puts a lot of pressure on Denis Lazovic over on our stage in chess as well, having to get some points on the board for AGL, or as they might just be caught by the end of this week.
Thank you, Ginny and Trav, for the update. Yeah, it's getting loud just off to my left, and we know why. Falcons are on a tear, and they might be on a tear during our playoffs as well. But Nepo and Neiman, they're up to something. They're giving their tier list powered by Aramco.
Hello, it's Jan Nepomniachtchi from Aurora Gaming.
Hello, I'm Hans Niemann. I play for Godlike.
Now we're going to do some blind rankings of the greatest chess players. No one else but Bobby Fischer. I would probably put him to the S tier because of his overall influence to the game, which is unmatched by his great, successors. So then it's Mikhail Tal. I mean, there is surely someone like Gary and Magnus are ahead, so probably I put it here, but I personally rate him like very, very high, but keeping in mind there are some more players ahead.
Great female chess player.
Magnus Carlsen, but I don't think he would be too offended if I put Gary, one step ahead of him.
Speaks for itself.
Jose Raul Capablanca Eglauspera, one of the best intuitive players ever lived. Probably, I'm not sure about Alekhine, but I put him here, of course.
Certainly a very interesting personality. I would put his personality at number 2, but put him here. His chess wasn't, he was more interesting of a person relative to his chess.
Anatoly Karpov, strong player and great champion. I think he holds the record of the most tournament victories. This was reserved for Gary, so as high as I can.
Put her here.
Wilhelm Steinitz, a real gentleman of chess, and back then, of course, an unmatched personality.
Morphy, great American champion. Put him here.
Okay, I'm lucky here to have Garry Kasparov, so Magnus is not offended.
This must be Kasparov. Yeah, not the worst list. I'm just happy that Fischer is up top.
Thanks for watching, and see you at the Sports World Cup.
All right, got more players arriving. Jan, good morning. How are you? Well rested, feeling okay?
Morning, yeah, of course.
The international has started. What time did you wake up this morning?
I believe 6:30.
Good man, watching all the esports. We appreciate you. Good luck in your matches today.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much, man.
Bye-bye.
All right, who else we got? Andre, good morning. How are you doing? Did you sleep well?
Yes, nice sleep.
Like Jan, are you following any of the other esports at the moment? Are you watching the international today?
Not really. I try to focus on chess.
That's all right. It's Chess Esports World Cup, 100% focus. Good luck in your matches.
Thank you.
See you soon.
John, they only have so much time. They've got to focus on chess because they're about to throw down on the stage behind us. Another elimination match, another key to be crushed, and another player to move forward in our bracket. We're moving over to Group B. Jan Nepomniachtchi going against Esipenko. Let's hone in on Nepo and what makes him such a great competitor.
Jan Nepomniachtchi, one of the very best chess players in the world. He's played the World Championship match twice. And even though he's never become world champion, he's been as close as you can be. Extremely strong player and very strong contender.
Very strong indeed, but a misclick sent him to this position. He's got to recover. But on the opposite side, man, you got Esipenko who's looking great. But real quick, let me slow my roll. Grandmaster at 16, now 36. Been a Grandmaster for 20 years, and it definitely has paid off given his position. But again, that misclick, the emotions were flaring, but he woke up at 6:30. I don't know, there's a lot of factors going into the matchup today.
He might be one of the bigger gamer fans over there. He was very experienced at Dota for some time, and we've always wanted a 2 esport athlete in chess. He's as close as we possibly could have if he ever gets back into Dota.
That's right. Well, Esipenko, though, he is on fire. He's been looking great, and a big narrative around him as well. I think they've got a little bit of history going into this matchup.
They do, and in fact, Esipenko is the only player left from the play-in that could possibly win that 50,000 bonus, and he needs to win 2 matches to get to the playoffs to earn any points for the organizational standings. Virtus Pro is tied for 4th. If he at least gets to the top 8 by advancing, then he'll get a minimum of 200 points, and they'll be vaulted onto a podium finish.
Esipenko and Nepomniachtchi played each other last year here in the EWC, where Esipenko first beat him in the group stage, but then something else happened in the lower bracket.
Yeah, unlike a regular tournament, they actually had to play again. They went all the way to Armageddon. Here was the interesting thing. Esipenko tried a bit of a trick opening on move 4. It was a 4 knights, and he played the so-called Naroditsky variation named after the late American Grandmaster. It worked in game one, but it did not work in the Armageddon, and Nepomniachtchi was able to hold the draw, and he's the one that eliminated Esipenko last year in Riyadh.
All right, well, they got history not only last year, but over the past 6 years, they've been going against each other. But it's Nepo who currently holds the lead, but will he hold the lead in the matchup today against Esipenko? Let's go to the stage to find out.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially time. On one side, we have Jan Nepomniachtchi qualifying from the Champions Chess Tour. This is one of the most accomplished players of his generation, and he is a two-time winner of the Candidates Tournament.
And he will take on Andrei Esipenko himself. He had to go through the play-in. He was sent to the lower bracket, took Vladislav Artemiev down in lower finals. That meant he had to face Magnus Carlsen yesterday. Not an easy pick, and now today everything is up for grabs. Another match for the Tournament Live on the line. It is time for the second match of the day on Stream A. Tournament Live on the line. Who can stay alive in EWC 2026?
Thank you, Hollywood, Rob TV. Thank you, Damascus. What a match we have in store. A rematch almost from last year. A lot of history. These two know each other extremely well. Both had very different paths to this point. Andrei Esipenko has crushed many keys already on his path here. Jan Nepomniachtchi, of course, a world-class player for so many years now. Tanya, I loved it when they were standing opposite each other. That face-off, will we see just as tense a match this year as we did last year?
What a sight that was, David Howell, and that's what I'm hoping for. Right after that match, Jan Nepomniachtchi's words, sometimes you need some pure luck. Now, luck is not what Nepomniachtchi wants to rely on today against Andrei Esipenko, who did play the world champion, the former world champion yesterday, and a former two-time world championship challenger today. What a run this has been for Esipenko here at the EWC, but both of them on their last life. Only one key survives. To answer your question, I'm hoping this one also goes down to the wire, just like our last matchup.
Exactly. We saw an Armageddon earlier in the day between Nihal Sarin and Wei Yi. Will we see that happen again in this match? It's Jan Nepomniachtchi to start with the white pieces. He's extremely strong with white. He can kind of serve with several different hands. He can play E4, C4. He has so many different specialties in his repertoire. Andrei Esipenko also fantastic in the opening. Maybe a bit more tricky with his openings. Let's see how things kick off. It does feel like Jan Nepomniachtchi will be aiming to strike with white. His score, at least so far in this event, with white, much better than with black.
I'll add another speciality of Jan Nepomniachtchi. One of his greatest weapon has to be tempo on the clock and psychologically as well. Now for Esipenko, how battle-hardened is he? He survived the pressure in the plains. He survived elimination 4 times today. He faces it one more time. Game 1, and we are off. Jan Nepomniachtchi with the white pieces chooses the English. I've got a happy co-commentator here.
Exactly. English opening. Jan Nepomniachtchi's been playing this for many years, but it does transpose to the Queen's Gambit declined. An exchange variation here. White's bishop coming out. Tanya, I've got to say, look at those heart rates. Already pretty high for a baseline. The game just beginning. This shows how much the players want it. This shows that nerves will jangle. The previous encounter, Nihal Sarin and Wei Yi, their heart rates were 80, 85 when they had 1 minute left at the height of the climax of the games. Here we start on a high.
David, for so many of the world's elite, the EWC is potentially a career-defining event, and to play their hearts out. Now, they both know that they are on their final life. They need to win to keep the run going, and it's already a fantastic opening that we've got. We see a trade, an option to pick up one of the 2 knights for Jan Nepomniachtchi. He barely takes a pause. He goes for the center one.
He goes for the center one. He might be about to pick up the second knight. We could see 2 knights versus 2 bishops if Jan Nepomniachtchi now captures the black knight on the edge of the board, wrecking black's pawn structure. The argument here for Andrei Esipenko, with his structure ruined now, is that his bishops will come to life a bit later as things open up. But for now, Jan Nepomniachtchi with a choice as well of which way to castle his king. There we go. He slides across to the left to the queen side. It's looking very dynamic already and clear, this last move, that Andrei Esipenko is still in his preparation.
Exactly 1 year ago is that matchup that happened in EWC where Jan Nepomniachtchi survived a dead-lost match situation and won in an Armageddon. Esipenko, 1 move away from getting that victory, was knocked out. This is a massive grudge match, and I have to say, the opening we have, these both are playing like it's a grudge match. The queen out early, black's king still in the center, maximum tension to open up those central lines. There is a pawn hanging on the right flank of the board. This is absolute chaos.
Wow, I've been commentating for so many years, but I've never seen this. This is such a rare variation. Queen's Gambit Declined is supposed to be super solid, but this has exploded already. We're only 13 moves in, and Black is just letting the center burn. Black's queen, though, going pawn hunting. Black's bishops will come to life if there's a capture in the center. Tanya, tactics galore. Andrei Esipenko clearly has studied this, and Jan with his last move, relatively quick. I'm going to say a good choice, bringing out his knight, stopping any checks from the Black Bishop.
Jan being quick is not something new in the chess world. Tempo, speed is one of his biggest strengths. He truly uses the clock as a weapon. I have to say, though, optically, it just looks like White has managed to finish development, has beautiful pawns at the center of the board. The knights are out as well. I'm doing a quick math here. With pawns in the balance, until those bishops come out, until you find king safety if you're Esipenko, you're the one on the back foot.
Definitely. And the first real pause of the game from Andrei Esipenko. Will the Black Queen get greedy, start grabbing some pawns? Will we see him exchange off in the center, break that tension finally? There was a trap on the last move if White had gotten greedy and grabbed Black's central pawn with some bishops coming out. The bishops now unable to activate yet. But, okay, just to show what could have happened on that last move, if White's knight hadn't come out, stopping the Black Bishop from giving a check, if White had captured instead, there would have been a deadly game over already. Black could give a check, for example, first, forcing the White King onto a vulnerable diagonal. Queen and King now lined up. Instead, we go back to the position. This would have been deadly. The Knight coming out stops that idea. Instead, there's been a trade in the center. Black's Bishop still pinning the White Knight to its Queen, and White defends. Watch out, the Black King now eye-lined. X-ray vision, there might be some tactics.
There's an X-ray vision, and right next to that is a line that's been blocked. So Black can't even get to safety on that left flank. And good luck making the decision of getting your king to the right side of the board with the G line already open. That's going to be brave and gutsy. But is there another way to complete development for Black?
Well, that might be the only way. But as you say, brave and gutsy, he needs to just kind of close his eyes here, hope for the best, cross his fingers and say, I'm going to castle. He does.
Whoa.
He finds the best move, Andrei Esipenko. The Black King is open. But at least if it gets one more move, slides into the corner, a little bit safer.
But do you have that one move, David, that you so badly want to get your king into the safety? I'm also looking at the H-pawn moving ahead, hit that queen. G-pawn moving ahead, hit that bishop, open up the G-file, give some checks. Andrei Esipenko looking too cool for this position.
Oh, too cool for school. This is so sharp. This is crazy. And this could still go in any direction, of course. The eval bar says roughly level, but bishops versus knights, that is controversial, often leads to some tactics later. The first move you mentioned, Tanya, on the board, Jan Nepomniachtchi is going to go for it. Long-term, Black is doing fine. So short-term, that's where White's chances lie.
And now there's a check on the board. You wouldn't want to trade your queens off at this moment, looking at Black King out in the open. But if not, Esipenko is ready to trade off the rooks in the D-file. What are we expecting? Do you think he's going to offer a queen trade, or is he going to block the check or move the king sideways?
Yeah, normally you would want to move your king sideways, right? But somehow it's just a vulnerable diagonal. White's king would be lined up, stared at by Black's bishop, so the block. It was either the queen block or the rook block, but here, keeping the queens on. I think that's just more his style, Nepomniachtchi. He's so good with queens on the board. Even Magnus has said he's one of the best players in the world in queen endings. Queen and rooks on here. Makes a lot of sense. The rook could slide later, maybe, if it's able to unpin itself. Maximum tension right now, and I agree. Black's king needs to get into the corner. Black needs to trade off some rooks. A lot on the agenda. Andrei Esipenko needs to prioritize. Choose an order here.
What a position we've set ourselves up for in this game one already. There are so many dynamics and imbalances. The pawn formation, the bishop versus knight complex, the king's open, king safety in question for Andrei Esipenko. Rook on that central line offering the trade feels like the most logical approach in this position right now. For Jan Nepomniachtchi, you know, we already saw the triple table smash. What are the chances we get some more of that today?
Maybe a quadruple table smash, who knows? I mean, he's always been a fiery player, Jan Nepomniachtchi. He's always been so passionate, so determined. He wants it. And that shows in his style. When he gets the flow, when that dynamism is there, he jumps on it, seizes it. The opponents can never really rest. And Tanya, I've got to say, the clock situation is one thing, but the stakes feel higher here for Andrei Esipenko. If Black is careless, makes a wrong slip, he could get attacked, it could be game over. If White's careless, maybe it's just a slightly worse endgame, and things continue. So the next few moves, really crucial.
And it's exactly because of those attacking possibilities. If you're Esipenko, you want to get pieces off the board. The fact that he's taken this pause before getting that rook to the center line, I'm trying to understand what else could be going on in his radar. What's on his radar for Esipenko right now? Give Nepomniachtchi, one more move, David. That G-pawn pushes the queen out. Then moves one step ahead, pushes the bishop out, opening up pathways to the black king.
Exactly. When the black queen is kicked away as well, there might be some knight checks. White's knight in the center might jump out the way, discovered attack against the bishop. There are tricks galore. And where do you even start calculating is the question. When in doubt, they say shuffle your king in the corner. That king might not be super safe either. And just to show that idea, Tanya, you mentioned bringing the rooks to the center, but that could come with a downside.
Let's take a look at that, because this feels like the most reasonable response if you're Esipenko right now. And then you trade those two rooks, get that off the board, you push the queen out, and then your idea, David, of the knight checks is really something that needs to be investigated. And good luck to Esipenko trying to work that out with 5 minutes on the clock.
Exactly, a double attack here. Black could try taking with the queen, doesn't really work here. Taking with the bishop instead would allow the white queen to swoop forward, and it looks like a fantastic position for white. Black's bishop will move somewhere. The game goes on, but white with a safer king. And that is why this variation, too scary. Andrei Esipenko has shuffled his king into the corner, but the same thing happens. The black queen has now been kicked back, and the white knight now entering the middle, hitting a black bishop. Question mark given, a mistake. The black bishop can move. Maybe it can grab a pawn. Maybe the more natural, though, is to slide back and stay on the diagonal.
Again, the need of the hour, brave and gutsy for Andrei Esipenko. Does he take the bait? He does. He challenges Jan on, and then Jan, after sacrificing, voluntarily giving it up, does a bit of an expression right there, and then leans in, trying to find a way ahead. He doesn't care about the pawn. He's pushing. He's coming for Esipenko's king. The pawn goes ahead, but still compensation to be proved. Black has enough pieces close to the king for safety.
Exactly. It's kind of a paradox here because the black queen is totally locked in. The black queen looks passive, a bit stuck, but she's a great defensive piece. She holds everything. Black's light squared bishop, it wasn't about getting greedy and grabbing a pawn. It was just the fact that it now has a nice outpost on the g4 square, protected, but also protecting its own pawns. And black's rook comes to the center now with gain of time. White's knights look nice, but one of them isn't so stable. And yeah, this could still go in any direction, of course. But for now, Andrei Esipenko maybe has dodged the worst.
I completely agree with you. For Jan Nepomniachtchi, he has to checkmate. He has to deliver that attack, a killer blow on the black king. Pieces come off. The endgame is completely busted now for white. You know, you've got that extra pawn. You've got a bishop pair. You've potentially got a pass on the left flank as well. A direct path for your king to come into the game. That's going to be a very challenging endgame. So whatever needs to happen has to happen in the middle game.
Exactly. He needs the energy now. The next half dozen moves. Jan Nepomniachtchi needs to strike, create some threats. Not so easy. If he takes a timeout, just moves his knight out of the center, defends it, then black's rooks might start getting more active. Maybe the black queen slides across one square, and black's position starts to improve. Black, of course, as we say, doing well long term. Pawn up now. So Jan needs something here. He's investing a bit more time. He had 2-3 extra minutes. That's dropping, but this is the critical moment. He sensed it. That's the experience paying off.
You know, that pawn sacrifice that we saw by Jan Nepomniachtchi, which he barely took any time to give up on, and Andrei Esipenko taking that pause and accepting that bait. It just speaks of their style, right? For Esipenko, calculation. For Jan, sacrifice is based on instinct. He just feels like the attack should flow. And now he's rerouting his knight to that g5 square, gets it back. Ignore the question mark. I think you need more human responses in this position. Still asking some questions. Knight g5, knight h4, a threat in the air. I like this move by Andrei Esipenko. And a queen trade offer down a pawn. That surprises me, David.
Wow, that is strange. And look at that. A frown from Andrei Esipenko. Slightly surprising is an understatement here. It's frankly a bit bizarre to trade off queens when you're a pawn down. No more attack either. That is a sign of panic. He might be holding a poker face, Jan Nepomniachtchi, but I think that he's not so happy about recent developments. Given the question mark, queen's off. It's going to be one-way traffic. The bishop's going to come to life.
He doesn't look so concerned at all, which makes it even more baffling to me right now. An immediate decision by Andrei Esipenko, attacks the rook. You could shift it sideways, start targeting some pawns on the queen side. He does it, hits the bishop first.
It's the bishop. The bishop can move. Another question mark there. The black rook can also set itself in the center, defending, getting ready to double up a bit later on. White's pawns are all on dark square, so he goes pawn hunting right now. Makes a lot of sense. Andrei Esipenko smells blood.
He really does, or at least smells a few pawns on the right side of the board. You know, the h-pawn might not have given a passer to Esipenko, but if the g3 pawn, that's a clear path ahead. If that g3 pawn falls, the h-pawn is coming up the board, needs to be defended. He does that, falls back. And now for Esipenko, there are ideas of striking that pawn chain in the center with the f-pawn moving one step ahead.
Exactly. You can break forward at some point. Andrei Esipenko, a slight shake of the head, maybe frustrated that he's down at 3 minutes already. suddenly realizing the clock isn't his friend. But yeah, those white pawns, once they start collapsing, they'll be like dominoes, falling one by one. If he can get to them, it's game over. We see the game graph. It's been going in Black's direction the last few moves. That momentum is on his side. He wants to keep it that way, but he needs to move. He gives a check. He's down now under the 3-minute mark. It's suddenly a blitz game for Andrei Esipenko. Still, the end, far, far in the distance, though.
And that's because the evaluation rarely determines the result when it comes to these format. And look at that. He makes a very ordinary move, a normal looking move, and it turns out to be a big blunder on the board. Bishop falls back. And here, Jan Nepomniachtchi's opportunity lies.
He has a winning idea, Jan Nepomniachtchi. He doesn't find it. He brings his knight back on the last move. He actually had this idea of forking the two bishops. This bishop is trapped. Now, if it captures a pawn, the bishops get forked. Double attack against the two bishops. Jan Nepomniachtchi rushing past the critical moment. Still had 5 minutes on his clock. Could have gone from almost losing to almost winning in just one move. He's missed it. The game continues. Andrei Esipenko dodged a bullet.
Of when your biggest strength becomes the one that challenges you, becomes a weakness. Jan Nepomniachtchi plays on the clock, but this time rushes his decision. What a moment of miss, but an easy one when you're looking at speed, looking at the clock right there. Jan Nepomniachtchi, the good thing is I don't think he spotted that miss. So he's not playing games with his mind right now. He plants the knight to a really nice square on f6. It's game on. With that knight posted there, that has to be enough compensation.
Yeah, the last 3 or 4 moves, despite that big miss where he could have won a bishop, it does feel like it's been trending in White's favor. The white knight is now glorious. It was on a slightly more passive square. Now it looks fantastic, entrenched on f6, mating nets around. Andrei Esipenko visibly nervous. He's been shaking his head, shaking in his chair, burning a lot of time on the clock. Jan looks calm. And there we go, Andrei Esipenko. This is him making his move to try and end the game as quickly as possible. Down at 2 minutes, he needs to accelerate the play. If there's a trade of pawns, a line opens up, the c-file against the white king, which isn't entirely safe yet.
It's really not. And let's just do a quick count. Esipenko is still up a pawn in this position, has 2 beautiful bishops. And look at that. He is threatening to trap Black's bishop on g6, f5 is the big idea right now. That bishop cannot leave that square. h5 pawn is hanging. How are you taking care of this threat, Esipenko?
Wow, this is so chaotic. White might win one of those bishops, but in the process, he might lose all of his pawns. And we there saw a temporary sacrifice of a bishop, getting the white knight. Pawns are dropping, but f5, that pawn push still in the air. Black's bishop might be doomed.
Oh, welcome back.
Nepomniachtchi in this absolutely wild position. You take that pawn on the left flank, f5, you lose your bishop. Is that enough compensation? Is what Andrei is asking himself. But there's no way to fight that threat. That bishop is going down on the next move.
Exactly. You can't allow White's pawn on b5 to continue to survive. He does. He panics. He tries to keep his bishop alive. Maybe some checks from the black rooks. But look how powerful White's passed pawn is now. The clock is playing a huge role. Andrei Esipenko here. Esipenko, I was about to call him, panicking completely, and it's spiraled out of control.
It really has. It's not only the pawn on c6, but the h-file opens up as well with checkmating ideas on that black king. And Nepomniachtchi knows that the job is almost done as he's about to put finishing touches. He could sever the connection between the bishop and the pawn. Push that pawn to f5. Rook takes pawn. Is this game over?
That's the Arabian checkmate incoming. Rook takes pawn in front of the black king. That would be the end. The black king can start to run, last a little longer, but it's not going to change the play here. White is now running forward with his king. Black's trying to check forever, but the king, hiding in plain sight, advancing forward, is marching towards a black rook, will hide around its own pawn. Andrei Esipenko shaking his head. No time, no safety. Game over. Jan Nepomniachtchi about to deliver the knockout blow and resigns. Jan gets the first strike in.
It was the table smash yesterday. Today, he starts with a fist bump right there, getting the first win, which means for Andrei Esipenko, he has to win the second game to force a tiebreak. But I have to say that Jan Nepomniachtchi gave him very little chances in this one. That was a game played to perfection.
Exactly. There was maybe a 3 or 4 move window in the middle somewhere where Andrei Esipenko had an advantage, but it was a difficult position to handle, really, really double-edged, and ultimately the clock making him panic, and the self-destruct there towards the end was very quick. It spiraled so quickly, and there we see him playing through the game. Where did he go wrong? Not easy to pinpoint. A few missed tactics here and there, but he needs to reset, refocus. He gets white in the next one. It's still far from over.
It really is, David. It is the final game. And as you say, the first part of the game, Andrei Esipenko had a lot to be happy about. He did play dynamic chess. He got his kind of position. But once Jan Nepomniachtchi took control of the attack, he never let him back into the game. And this one, we go into game 2. Andrei Esipenko will start with the white pieces.
Okay, and not much of a break here. The players will kick off any second now, get straight back into it. The lessons for Andrei Esipenko, he just has to play a bit quicker. His opening preparation kind of paid off in the last one. He got a double-edged game. He'll want something equally dynamic in a must-win situation now. And another English opening, and this time it will not be transposing immediately, not yet at least, to the Queen's Gambit declined, as we see Jan play his World Championship repertoire. Two-time World Championship finalist, of course. He knows this stuff inside out, rock solid for black.
Not something many chess players can boast of, winning 2 candidates back-to-back. Jan Nepomniachtchi there played his first match against Magnus Carlsen, his second match against Ding Liren. And here he is at the EWC stage, looking for a spot at the playoffs, the biggest stage right now in the esports world. Takes that pawn, the entire center is off the board. And I have to say, with the black pieces, when you're Jan, you're looking for a draw in this one. This is a dream outcome from the opening.
Exactly. Jan has pretty much put all of his eggs in one basket. He's saying, I've studied this, I know this, I've looked at this for a World Championship match. Black is slightly more passive, black's light square, bishop still stuck at home, but if you know everything here, it's just a draw. If you study this with computers, that's why Andrei Esipenko already shaking his head. He's still living in the past. He's still remembering that first game, but he needs to just focus here and now. The opening, I think for white here, not keeping the tension, rushing into an endgame, that shows he's still stuck in that final few moments of the previous game.
And that is the hardest battle that a chess player fights. The battle not against the opponent, but against their own mind. And for Esipenko, that seems like the bigger one right now. And the position that he has in a must-win game. The big question, how do you create your chances? The queens are off the board. 2 sets of minor pieces off the board. A set of rooks about to come off as well.
Yeah, and sometimes in must-win situations, you need to play a bit offbeat. You need to surprise your opponent. You don't always have to play the best moves. You just have to keep the tension, hope for the mind games, hope your opponent cracks later. But rushing into an endgame like this, he hasn't given Jan Nepomniachtchi much time to crack at all. He hasn't given him too many big decisions. I'm expecting the white knight now to leap forward into the position, but maybe black can even sacrifice a pawn. It's going to be opposite color bishops if that knight captures a bishop or a pawn next, and still very drawish in its tendencies, this type of scenario. Jan looking away, still clearly in his preparation.
He's barely taken any time, and it could be forced right now by Jan. He could hit that knight with his bishop, force Andrei into an opposite color bishop endgame, where Jan's rook will be the first to the open file as well. And all those scenarios are an absolute nightmare for Esipenko.
Yeah, he might win a pawn. He'll have to grind something down. He might have to squeeze water out of a stone. The hand is forced now, attacking the knight. That knight has to either capture a pawn or a bishop to try and maintain the winning chances. But yeah, Jan Nepomniachtchi, if he's able to defend correctly, we see the evaluation bar. A pawn isn't the most meaningful thing here, while the black rook might finally get active after the next couple of moves.
It instantly will. You take that pawn, there will be a couple of trades. Once the dust settles, we'll see the rook land on one of the central files for Jan Nepomniachtchi, looking at an infiltration on the second rank as well. He's forcing matters here in a territory he knows only too well.
And the body language from Esipenko doesn't show too much hope right now. He needs to grab a pawn. At least you have something to cling on to. Yes, it might be objectively close to level, but you have something to maneuver with a bit later. You hope the clocks tick down. You hope to keep that pawn as long as possible, and still grinding potential. But yeah, you need to keep the speed here. And the fact that he's paused, shaking his head a little bit, shows he's not really full of belief right now.
And he does go for it in a surprising capture, because this not only goes into an activity for the black rook, but goes into an opposite color bishop. He could have taken that pawn with his own bishop, keeping an imbalance of a knight versus the dark squared bishop, but a completely different approach there. Attacks the rook. Jan surprised as well. I'm expecting him to place that rook on the open D line, now threatening a second rank infiltration.
He's coming in. Simple as that. Can't really be stopped now. And a rook trade, Tanya. That would just be a draw. Opposite color bishops, like ships in the night, they bypass each other. Full blockade on the dark squares for black. Even a pawn down, easy draw. So the rooks have to stay on the board for Andrei Esipenko.
instant handshake is what would happen if the rooks were to come off the board. But it looks like it is Jan's rook that's the more active one. So to keep those chances alive for Esipenko, perhaps going to complete passivity for now, put his rook on the second rank, making sure there's no rook coming in for Jan just yet. But how are you making your chances? You need to start pushing those pawns. It's 2 versus 1 on the left flank, but not so easy.
Not so easy. You push your pawns on the light squares, they get blockaded on the dark squares. If you push the pawns forward on dark squares, they might just drop off the board. The bishop steps back. It's now threatening to come back and block the black rook from entering. So this might be the opportunity that Jan Nepomniachtchi wants to enter with his rook. Still a long way to go. I'm going to say, Tanya, still Jan who needs to prove the draw, but he does have a lot of time on his clock. He's probably studied something similar to this before as well.
Maybe we're just underestimating Esipenko's approach here, David, because the idea could be that this is the kind of position that you can play on for 1,000 moves. And with little time on the clock, you can keep suggesting at improvements, your king coming forward if you're white, slowly threatening on the left flank with the pawns moving ahead. The bishops will always stay on the board. Well, I said pawns moving ahead. Instantly, Esipenko blocks that.
Yeah, all been blocked now, and how to advance those white pawns, how to keep rooks on the board. If the white bishop is careless, moves to the wrong square, the black rook might enter the C file, drop down to the first rank, trap the white rook, trade off the white rook, and guarantee a draw. Very, very sneaky move there from Jan Nepomniachtchi. And, okay, Andrei Esipenko. Yeah, the approach, I'm going to say high risk, some reward. It's a high risk of a draw. The reward is that you might get a longer game, flagging potential, but you're not going to flag your opponent if you're a minute down.
And especially if that opponent happened to be Jan Nepomniachtchi, who himself is such a speed specialist. Now, I have to say that this is such a tricky way for Jan to handle all his problems right now. Like you pointed out, either a potential trade of the rooks on the C1 square, or the rook coming onto the second rank anyway. And look at Jan Nepomniachtchi. He breathes out. He knows that he's going to move forward. It is going to be extremely difficult for Esipenko to even keep the rooks on the board over the next 5 moves.
And Esipenko might feel that confidence from his opponent. We saw a moment ago, Esipenko's accuracy is up at 99%. I think Jan Nepomniachtchi's is also sky high right now, almost at the 100% mark, because this is opening theory at its finest. And there we see it, 99.4% from Jan Nepomniachtchi, 2 exclamation mark moves included. Despite being down a pawn, despite sacrificing it, these players, they know their endgame's inside out. And I think the match strategy, which could be proven genius from Esipenko if he's able to grind this out. Right now, it's looking like it's not giving him any real chances, burning even more time. He spent nearly half of his start time, and we're only at move 22. And yeah, it doesn't look like he's come up with a plan yet. How to keep the white rooks on the board. The white rook just cannot get active anywhere.
You need it on the 7th rank, and it's not getting there anytime soon. Aurora Gaming brings in Jan Nepomniachtchi. He's the one who's got all the aura in this position. He stops the rook from coming in, Esipenko, but Jan's got his idea. He attacks the F-pawn. Notice how the E-pawn can't move to its defense. The bishop is hanging there. Not easy to challenge that either. You push that pawn, that's more trade. That benefits Jan as well. Really nicely played there.
Beautiful multi-purpose move. The white pawn's now totally stuck. The 2 versus 1 advantage on that left flank cannot move simply. The white rook cannot get in the game. And as you say, Tanya, white's only way to preserve the material advantage is to step forward one of those doubled pawns, the F-pawn. It gets traded, the black rook comes in anyway. Back to level material now. Jan wasn't even suffering down a pawn for too long. The rook's still active. Not even a back rank checkmate threatened because the black bishop can drop back and defend, but more likely here Jan Nepomniachtchi gives his king some breathing space.
You really want to do that. You don't want to bring your bishop back into passivity right now, expecting one of the pawns to move ahead or the king to slide over towards the center of the board. We can expect a check and the rook to line up against some attacks of the black pawn, but notice how the bishop that Jan has can actually slide back to c5, defend the a7 pawn, and also have a target of its own.
Exactly, the black bishop will hold everything, kind of an active and passive piece at the same time. Black's rook, slightly clumsy, might get attacked by a pawn. We'll see that there we go, and has to choose how to recirculate and get back into the action. But he might just start giving him some checks. White's isolated h-pawn might as well be a target. This one, it's going to be so hard to win, Tanya. The opening choice, I think, just the fact that he wasn't able to reset in time and stop himself from going with the flow. Another shake of the head from Andrei Esipenko.
It just felt like a play of what happened in the previous round rather than a standalone game itself for Andrei Esipenko. If you think about the first 10 moves and how he landed himself into this end game right now for Jan, a clear path. You can check, dodge the white king, start putting pressure, but he first pushes his own pawn forward. I do understand there is a case to be made for Esipenko sacrificing material for piece activity. It was really his only hope.
Yeah. He's tried to maximize everything. At least the white rook that we were moaning about, at least I was moaning about, it is in the action, but it doesn't have targets simply. Black's rook controls everything. Look how he's putting pawns, multiple pawns on the 5th rank, where they can be defended by the black rook. The black rook also holds the f7 square, the bishop as well, controlling some nice squares. White's bishop stuck temporarily, pawns can't advance. I don't see a winning plan, and I don't even see a plan to test black right now.
And it's almost double the amount of time for Jan Nepomniachtchi on the clock as well. So I think anyone getting tested, it has to be Andrei Esipenko right now. He plays the move h3, trying to just create some squares. And look at that, Jan Nepomniachtchi barely pausing before going for the avalanche.
There we go, continuing to advance on the side where he is stronger. Makes a lot of sense. Andrei Esipenko guards the light squares, hits a pawn, and he's trying to force black here to fix everything. And pawn advance is harder now to achieve. Okay, I like this last move from Andrei, but still, what next is the big question. I think he just has to start hustling here, just go into really cynical mode and start playing very quick moves with white and hoping he gets a miraculous chance later. Hard to fashion anything right now, at least.
He does put the bishop on the longest diagonal, but no targets to be found. The moment the white rook lands on b5 would have put pressure on that pawn, but now that opportunity also taken away. And Esipenko probably thinking, why didn't I just do that on the previous move? He slides his bishop over, targeting f7, beautifully already defended by Jan's rook. This is going to be a game of shuffling. Black can just shuffle around with the king. King g7, king f8, king g7, king f8. Everything beautifully defended for black.
Yeah, we're seeing the reactions from Esipenko as his pawn gets hit there. He's just annoyed that he didn't really give himself a chance in this game. That's the most frustrating thing. Must-win situation. You have the white pieces. You still have so many chances, but you head straight into this drawish endgame. Less energy. Doesn't really suit his style either, Andrei Esipenko.
The one thing that has been set up, though, as you're mentioning chances here, is he creating something, David? The idea of the e-pawn pushing forward, destabilizing the black rook from the 5th rank, and then perhaps starting to target those kingside pawns with a move like rook to b5 eventually landing. Let me point out, once e4 happens, black's rook needs to stay connected to that f7 spot in front of the king, which means you leave the 5th rank for the white rook to step over.
Oh, very interesting, and he might have to go for that at some point. Maybe that chance has passed. Maybe he needed to do it there and then, while the 7th rank was still open for the white rook, staring at a pawn. Missed opportunity, at least, to test Jan Nepomniachtchi. Might not have changed the evaluation, but might have been slightly more unpleasant for his opponent. Now black's rook is back and alive and threatening a check, and chances are disappearing for Andrei.
And the threats will continue. It's a check, and then the rook also ready to line up against some pawns on the right flank, while check stopped for now, gives it from d5. You come back to the same square. I mean, this is all Nepomniachtchi needs to do. All he needs is a draw.
All he needs is a draw, and any attempts here to win might even come with some risk for Andrei. Position continues to repeat itself. The black rook still trying to get active, and black's bishop doing such a good job of totally blocking the plans of white's rook and bishop.
And if you stepped up far too up on the center of the board, you potentially could have been checkmated in one in that position. So again, forced to draw back with the king is Andrei Esipenko, and potentially staring at that draw, which would mean the end of his road.
Under 2 minutes. How does he stop the black rook coming in without allowing that repetition, the perpetual check? It's just simply not possible. And white's bishop, it's up a one-way street, and there we go. It's a draw by repetition. 0 chances in the end for Andrei Esipenko. So professional from Jan Nepomniachtchi, who moves on.
It's Jan Nepomniachtchi's Aurora Gaming continues its run in Paris here at the EWC. The end of the road for Esipenko. And what a road it's been. An absolute fighter he was in the plains, finding himself in the group stages. But that is it. It will be goodbye for him. It will be key crushing time.
Wow, what a journey for Andrei Esipenko. He's played more chess than most over the last few days. All of those key crushings that he was able to execute, now it is his own key that will be crushed. But Jan, yeah, he looked in control. Very impressive performance there in both of the games, it has to be said. And he, of course, will be in action again later today.
First game, a shaky up and down roller coaster battle, but the second one, an absolutely controlled performance there, getting the kind of opening you want, needing only a draw, just never giving his opponent an opportunity in the game. Jan Nepomniachtchi goes through.
Both players stay seated. They both continue to analyze to see whether White indeed did have any chances. The answer is no. Shake of the head. The door was shut on Andrei Esipenko there. I think the opening choice may be something he'll regret, but ultimately, Jan looking up, he remembered everything about that opening. He knew too much and was just too strong.
Just too strong today. That head shake almost feels like he could have done better, is what he's expecting from himself, just the high standards he sets for himself. But I think there's a lot to be pleased for in this match for Jan Nepomniachtchi.
Oh, maybe he could just hear us and was shaking his head, disapproving of some of our comments, who knows. But Jan, a job well done. And Andre just reluctant to leave that stage. This will be the last time we're seeing him, at least this year, at the EWC in Paris. But yeah, he'll be back. Still young, still plenty of peak years ahead.
And this will be the second time in a row that Jan Nepomniachtchi has knocked out Andrei Esipenko at the EWC. For Esipenko, again, a journey, one to remember in many ways until today, where he crushed 4 keys in the plains, came in, lost to Magnus Carlsen yesterday, dropped down to the lower bracket today, and then out on his way he will be after this loss against Jan Nepomniachtchi.
And that tends to be the way in chess, in esports in general. You always have a kryptonite, right? You run into the same player a few times. 2 years in a row, he's run into Jan Nepomniachtchi. We'll see that final handshake, smile. These two know each other so well, a lot of mutual respect. But that's the end of the road for one, as we see the final moments of this game.
It is, and it were these checks that decided all of it for Jan Nepomniachtchi, taking that win in this match. A first round win, a second round a draw, did it all, and we go for the key crushing ceremony.
And another match, another key about to be crushed. As per Esports World Cup tradition, every player is given a key with his name, his hopes and dreams. And every player must give up his key to the winner. It is time now for Andrei Esipenko to give up his key to the winner, Jan Nepomniachtchi. The key is being exchanged, and as Andrei Esipenko has to bow out of the stage. Please, can we have a round of applause for Andrei Esipenko? As Jan Nepomniachtchi is joining us for the traditional key crusher moment. We've heard a few of them and we'll have a couple more. And congratulations. He's got one more match, of course, to play for after. But before that, it is one of our favorite moments at Esports World Cup. The key is being set and we are getting ready to destroy yet another key. The end of the road for Esipenko means the dream is still alive on Aurora Gaming side. We are primed, ready, locked and loaded. The key is about to pop. Let's hear it. Ooh! That might have been the loudest for a while, man. Listen, Jan Nepomniachtchi, congratulations again. He will be back a bit later today to play against Denis Lazavic for a place in playoff tomorrow. One more match to conquer for a place in playoff. See you after for more chess at EWC.
We were there. For every click, every clutch, every respawn. We were there for the years of grind, and we're here. Now, the proud founding partner of EWC, powering the biggest event in gaming, shoulder to shoulder with the world's best, making history. Greatness deserves a stage. Lenovo Legion, reach your impossible.
Jan Nepomniachtchi, what a battle it was. And you could tell by his face at the end, he gets the win, but he's not happy with it. Either way, he progresses forward. His next opponent is going to be Denis Lazavic. For Esipenko, though, for Virtus Pro's chances of getting more club championship points comes to an end. And I got to say, seeing his face afterwards, the disappointment, the heartache, I didn't know if he was going to tear up. It really broke my heart, quite truthfully. And I gotta say, it's probably the loudest key crush I have heard yet across the 3 days. Esipenko did not want to give up till the very end. My goodness, what a match it was. Mike Klein, Nemo, I don't know. Did it go the way you guys were expecting it?
Whew, I think that was certainly really tough for Esipenko. I mean, we could see it on his face in the first game, the heartbreak after he had a better position coming out of the opening with the black pieces. Had these chances to put that rook on d5 and maybe get a little activity out of it, but unfortunately he missed it and slowly went into the end game where it didn't look great.
Yeah, eventually there's a breakthrough on the H file. I think we'll take a look at that in just a moment. But he lost to the same player 2 years in a row, and he actually put up a better fight last year, went all the way to Armageddon. They had this period of White winning every game. When he needed to win game 2 today to equalize, he got nothing from the White pieces. So maybe he should have gone back to that Naroditsky variation. But yeah, tough to lose to a player twice in a row and not put up as good of a fight as he did the previous year.
That's right. And let's give a visual to the viewers. You mentioned the moment. Let's pull it up so you can start talking about it. A critical moment, obviously, that led to Nepomniachtchi ultimately getting his win.
Yeah, so kings were cast on opposite sides, and it actually looked like the white king had less protection. But we mentioned this yesterday. You can sometimes use the enemy pawn to protect, and it's actually white that broke through on the H file. And then here, after the bishop move, white played this key move, pawn on F4 to F5, and that sealed black's fate, because now the bishop can't get back to defend. Now, white was already winning anyway after black's last move, but this absolutely sealed black's fate. We call that the Arabian mate, so-called, because the queen used to not be very powerful if we go back 1,000 years.
Just 1,000.
Just 1,000, yeah. Thank you, Queen Isabella of Spain, for making modern chess more exciting. A shout out to Queen Isabella, but yeah, the Arabian mate was played on the board there.
All right, well, fourth side of Esipenko, though, again, this is a matchup they've been going through for 6 years across 3 different styles of chess, and it is Nepomniachtchi who usually gets the edge. Now, Esipenko has, in fact, beaten Nepomniachtchi in the past, but it's got to hurt, right? You get to the EWC stage, you go against an opponent and a friend, clearly, right? Shaking hands towards the end, but really processing the emotions of it. I mean, 6 years of total matches. History goes back, 1,500 years. 6 years is just a tiny drop in the scheme of it all, but I mean, for Esipenko, it's got to hurt to once again lose.
It hurts so much. He had such a battle to get here too. We all know he played in the LCQ. He played in DreamHack Atlanta, and then played in the play-ins here, where he unfortunately lost his first match and then had to basically win 4 matches in a row in order to make it into the main stage. And losing here is tough.
He was the big star earlier in the week just to get to this phase. He played 2 Armageddons, and that represents our last player from the play-ins. They're now all gone. Wei Yi and Esipenko both losing early on in the day, but his time will come. He does have the benefit of the youth over Nepomniachtchi, so
that's right.
You can't buy youth, can you, Taylor?
No, you can't. Sadly, I'm trying to. Only 34, but I'm getting older every day, and I don't know how it keeps happening. But I will say, though, for Esipenko, a great competitor, for VP, a wonderful pickup. You've got to be proud of him representing your club as a whole, because in the club championship race, obviously, VP has been doing a phenomenal job. But for Aurora Gaming, man, they are very happy with it. Now, for Nepomniachtchi, though, not over with just yet, right? He's got another matchup in front of him before he qualifies into the playoffs. He'll go against Denis Lazovic. I want to know your opinions in just a second. But, of course, when it comes to Esipenko, a tremendous performance. John Sargent caught up with them after his loss.
Andre, I'm very sorry to be talking to you under these circumstances. It looked like a difficult match. Talk us through the key moments.
Yeah, I think in the first game I had a huge advantage in the end game. I think it was actually just winning because I have 2 bishops, I have extra pawn. I don't know how I managed to, to lose it, but yeah, I don't know. It was already, I didn't have much time, so I couldn't understand which direction to play. And yeah, probably somehow I lost. And the second game, actually, I had a chance to go to this end game after bishop b7. I took knight b7. I don't know why. I just lost my mind. And yes, in this end game, I think it's a draw. What we got. But if I take with a bishop, we get like rook and knight against rook and bishop. I have rook and knight, which is very unpleasant, in my opinion, for him to play this position. And I just completely forgot about this, opportunity that I can take. And I think it would be difficult for him, at least in practical, to defend. But what I did is just a draw in general. And yeah, I don't know. I was a little bit off today, I think, yeah.
It's unfortunate. Keys obviously crushed here at the EWC, but your reflections on the tournament overall as a whole and your journey this year here in Paris?
I think in general it was a good tournament because, yeah, I managed to qualify to group stage, which was very difficult, and I didn't expect that I can manage it. and I won 4 matches in a row against very, very top players, which I'm proud of. But in the group stage, I think yesterday I had a good chance against Magnus to win the second game, and it was basically just winning position. And today, as actually last year we played with Jan, also in Armageddon I had a winning position with him, completely winning, but I managed to mess it up somehow.
Well, we are looking forward to seeing you back here very soon, and thank you very much for the games and the fight that you've shown.
Thank you. Thank you.
Doom scrolling is cringe. Chess is fun. Get all the dopamine of looking at your screen and none of the guilt when you're improving your mind with chess. Want to improve at your own pace? Take a few seconds to complete a puzzle and learn something new. Don't be cringe. Play chess. There's something for everyone at chess.com. Learn, play, and have fun.
Thank you, John, as always, for that great interview. Nice to hear from Esipenko. A bit disappointed with his loss. However, he's going to be coming back. I am sure of it. But at least his run for EWC 2026 has come to an end. We got 4 more matches, 4 more keys to crush. Let's take a look at Group B and how it's currently stacked up to be. Nepomniachtchi, I mentioned, he's going to have to go against Denis Lazovic next. Denis Lazovic, the sole representative of AGAL, who's currently in first place when it comes to the club championship points. As far as he can go is always better for AGAL. That matchup coming up in just a little bit. It won't be next, but what do we think about it?
After I saw Denis Lazovic in person this year defeat Hikaru Nakamura in a 26-game match in London, I'm not going to pick against the young man. I've got him in that match. Whoever is the GM of Team AGAL, that's the signing of the year.
Signing of the year, indeed. What a talented player. 26 games, Mike. What even is that? How do you even stay awake that long? Either way, let's take a look, Nemo, at Group A, because it's also shaping up quite nicely. And again, some decider matches for 4, in fact, are going to be just one more match away from advancing into the playoffs, but they're also potentially one match away from having their key crushed.
I mean, this has been an intense last 2 days. We are going to see young Krzysztof Duda face up against Nihal Sarin coming up very soon. And of course, we did see Pranesh beat out Benjamin Bach in what was a very, very tight match on Stream B that also did go to Armageddon. And he will be facing Arjun Erigaisi. So exciting matches. Exciting matches.
Exciting matches indeed. And now moving on to the next one that's about to be on stage. Jan Krzysztof Duda versus Nihal Sarin. Now, Nihal Sarin, we just watched him a little bit ago on Stream A. Heart rate never went above 80. Great composure, a wonderful competitor. But for Duda, though, he is a guy, a man on a mission, EWC experience, and he's looking to go all the way.
Yeah, speaking about Nihal Sarin first, he's the sole remaining sole representative. They started with 3, they're down to 1. He's actually trying to repeat exactly what he did in Riyadh, which is lose his opening match and win 2 matches in a row. And we got Duda on the screen. What do you have to say about Duda, Nima?
I mean, I think Duda has a lot of good chances here. He did play last year at EWC, much like Nihal, so, they're both very experienced. But Duda has also famously won the 2021 World Cup, which following that, actually had a little bit of a crisis in terms of his chess, where he was not too certain about if he wanted to keep playing, considering how much pressure there was on him. And, he did luckily bounce back for us to see him here now on this stage, because in 2024, he did come 3rd at the World Blitz Championship.
So he has a history of playing, clearly the case, Grandmaster for a reason. But on the opposite side, you kind of briefly touched on him. Let's go a bit deeper. Nihal Sarin, Weibo Gaming, he's been playing incredibly well. He just won on the stage behind us just a second ago. Now, I'll tell you what, as a competitor, it seems like his composure might be the best out of everyone we have at EWC when it comes to our chess tournaments. His heart rate always stays low. If he gets in difficult situations or in a time crunch, he holds his own.
He absolutely does. Think about last year. He beat on demand Anish Giri and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. That's not an easy thing to do. And the only reason that he left Riyadh is because he lost to a guy named Magnus Carlsen. So he's got the pedigree. He looks more nervous during interviews, actually, than we should heart rate him when we ask him the questions. And but actually on stage playing chess, you're right. Standing heart rate never gets above 75. He looks very comfortable up there.
Very comfortable indeed. And Nemo, this is in fact a qualification match. Whoever wins goes to the playoffs. Get our 5th spots, right? with the others. Whoever loses, key is crushed.
It is going to be quite challenging for Nihal. He did play against Duda earlier this year, and unfortunately Duda beat him 3-0. So this is very much a revenge story here in the making.
That's right, revenge in the making. It seems like we have revenge written on every single matchup that we've had so far, but these two Titans are ready to battle. They're ready to take the stage. One moves forward, the other has their key crush. It's going to be Jan Krzysztof Duda versus Nihal Sarin on the stage just behind us.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our first qualification match right now. Tournament life on the line, of course, and the winner of this match will be back tomorrow in the playoffs in the top 8. On the right side of your screen, you can see Nihal Sarin. He beat Wei Yi earlier. This format is his home. He's known for his speed, his accurate calculation, and his calm decision-making under pressure. He did it once today. Can he do it again?
And on the other side, we have Jan Krzysztof Duda, who has been one of Poland's leading chess players for more than a decade, becoming a grandmaster at only the age of 15. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, they're about to go to war as only one will qualify for the playoffs. It's time. Jan Krzysztof Duda versus Nihal Sarin.
What an entrance. And we have our very first decider. I'm Yovi, and joining me here to call off the action, it is my good friend, Grandmaster Ben Feingold, and we are ready for the action that is gonna come.
Yeah, today's my favorite day of the competition because it's key crushing day, Yovi. Everybody gets their key crushed when they lose a match today. And this is one of the decider matches to see who plays tomorrow. We have one of my picks, Nihal Sarin versus Duda. This is one of the few matches where I don't think there's a big favorite. Their ratings are pretty similar. Their strengths are pretty similar. And I think probably Nihal is more known for his speed than Duda. Duda's also a fantastic blitz player, and it's going to be a great match. I can't wait to see whose key get crushed. Hopefully not my guy. I picked somebody yesterday. I can't have all my guys getting crushed. So I saw there was a poll of who do you think was going to win, and I was surprised. Nihal had 75% thinking he was going to win. I thought it would be closer than that, but Nihal probably has a lot of fans because he plays so much on the internet, has such a high internet rating. So they're playing on the internet now. They're about to get set up, got their heart rate monitors on. As was said earlier, Nihal's heart rate's always pretty low. It's a pretty cool customer. And I like what Mike Klein said, that his heart rate went up during the interviews more than during the game. So that's pretty funny. Anyway, he's having trouble adjusting his headset. Looks like they're about to get ready, Yovi. What do you think? What are your predictions for the match?
It's going to be a close one. It might even be decided by Armageddon. We have Jan Krzysztof Duda, his handle is Polish fighter, and that is his trademark brand of chess. It's aggressive, it's creative, and always he's down for that fight. And we have our move, Jan Krzysztof Duda playing with the white pieces. It is opening up with the queen pawn, and we're seeing Nihal opening up with the knight pawn. Pawn structure is pretty flexible for the time being as we find out what is going to be Nihal's response. He's not quite comfortable with his headphones. Put it on. You can't hear us, Nihal.
He took the headset off so he could hear us do commentary. You can't do that.
You can't do that. And indeed, look, we have a classical, very traditional approach. Black marks their claim in the center.
Yeah, we've seen this a lot this tournament. Black's been playing. Ooh, speaking of not seeing anything in the tournament, H6. Okay, that move I don't know, stopping bishop g5. A lot of times at this level, black plays bishop to b4. Black still hasn't decided where he's going to put the bishop. Nihal has 3 squares for the bishop. He just leaves it on f8. Will he go to d6, e7, or b4? They're all possible. h6, not a very common move, but Duda played very quickly. And Nihal's still having trouble with his headset. I guess he wants to know what we think's going to happen, but we'll have to be quiet while his headset's off so he can't hear us.
Exactly, and that's going to be very difficult for us to keep quiet because this position, well, is brewing up for something interesting. H6, not a very popular move, but it sure is a trendy one as the players, they look to those parts of the beaten track, and here we come. We're seeing Nihal offering up a trade of dark squared bishops. Usually white takes it.
Is Jan Christoph gonna go down that road? Is he gonna keep that tension on the board, drop back with the bishop, or even throw in the knight into the center, block it up? Okay, we have a trade.
This is why I'm a commentator and not a player. I spent the whole time commentating about how Nihal was a cool customer, has a low heart rate, and then I check and Duda's heart rate is much lower. So I guess Duda's the cool customer. Nihal had a higher heart rate than usual because of his headset. So he's not really bothered by the chess. He's bothered by peripheral stuff like interviews, headsets. The position's about equal. White has a tiny advantage because I like that pawn structure better with white squared bishop not being blocked by the center pawns. But this will be a slow maneuvering game. Both players have to be happy with the result of the opening. They both have the same heart rate now. The times are exactly the same. It's about as even as you could get, Yovi.
It's as even as you can get. I can tell you one thing though. Look at where the pawns are pointing. For white, they are pointing to the left. So that is where the action is going to develop. For black, they are pointing to the right. And that's exactly what black wants to do. They want to eventually just jump in with a knight into the center. But for the time being, watch out. The queen is about. And the queen just sidestep over. And Nihal, really, I hope he's not hearing us. He's going for the king.
Duda's playing the Beyonce variation, to the left, to the left.
Exactly.
But nothing much happening right now. Just slow maneuvering. Nobody really has an advantage on time, heart rate, or clock. So I think neither one of us will be surprised, Yovi, if this match goes into Armageddon. He's trying to play on the left. Duda's playing queen a5, attacking the a7 pawn. Now black's pawn structure on the queen side is nice and solid. Everything's defended. And the question is, for me, is black going to maneuver the knights to different squares? If I was black, I'd try to get my knight to d6. I just don't know how to do it. A lot of times we play knight b6 to c8, but we can't do that here.
Well, there you're seeing it in action, Ben, as we see the knight quickly jump into the center, and Duda says, well, that knight was on my side of the board, get rid of it, and now the bishop is there, and Ben is advocating a very thematic maneuver.
I'm advocating black giving his knight away for nothing, because he played a6, he can't play knight b6 to c8. The knight really wants to go to d6, but it looks like it has to go to f6 to e4, which will proffer more trades. Queen c7, that's an interesting move. That's not what I would have expected. Looks like Duda's having fun with his queen this game.
Exactly, he loves the queen at the minute. She is the MVP, she is going all over the board. She probably wants to keep an eye on her king because the white king is undefended as it stands.
Yeah, it's a pretty stable position, lots of trades, nobody's really threatening anything. The queen goes back to the right side of the board. There was nothing really to attack on the left side of the board. And the question is Nihal going to start to trade knights with knight f6 to e4, or is he going to try to get his knight around to d6, controlling all these key squares? Again, I don't know how to do it. It's going to take a long time. The engine says it's about equal. Both sides playing very solid this game. Nobody really has made a big threat. There's no pawn breakthroughs. It's not easy to decide what to do. Usually in positions like this, I take too long, and I try to figure out where to put my pieces, and I get in time trouble. Okay, I like what Nihal did, and maybe he will play my idea, knight e8 to d6, although white's playing knight c5 first, so probably black has to play... Oh, wow! That wasn't on my analysis board. Wow, playing g5. Okay, but again, the queens are moving a lot, Yovi, and Nihal wants it to move again.
Exactly, and look at that move, asking those questions to Jan Christoph. Jan Christoph says, hey, you know what? The queen was vulnerable. If it stepped back, let's go forward, offer up a trade. And I got to say, it's been a long maneuvering game. But that knight that white has on the left is primed and ready to jump in. So still really tense as the players try to find the right plans just to annoy their opponent as the queens come off the board. And the big question for white is, yeah, you jump in with the knight. Lovely knight right there, happy in the heart of black's position. But what next as Nihal just moves the king up the board? Because I'm expecting Nihal to eventually decide that that knight is no good and drop his own knight to challenge it.
That's right. And you can play knight d7 later, as you pointed out, to do that. White has two plans in this position. White can play either f3, e4 and advance to the center, or white can play on the left side of the board again and play b4, a4, b5, the so-called minority attack. But Nihal immediately played the idea you suggested, knight d7, get rid of that knight on c5, it's too good. And the position looks pretty equal. White doesn't want to trade. White played knight b3. It's really hard for White to envision either plan working now with f3, e4, or b4, since the knight on b3 isn't really very well placed. I think the knight's going to go on the left side of the board again. It's going to play knight a5, keeping that rook on b8, defending the b7 pawn. Not much to do for either side, just slow maneuvering around. And both sides have a lot of time on their clock. We're still early in the game. Nobody's made a mistake. It's pretty equal. It's a maneuvering game, and it'll get exciting later as things heat up.
Yeah, I feel like this is a game of cat and mouse as we see Jan Krzysztof. He's moving his knight away. He's keeping Nihal guessing. He's like, as you indicated, well, maybe I'm going to go in the center. Maybe I'm going to go on the left with the pawns. But everyone, just watch where that white knight is headed and watch what the pawns are going to be doing. Nihal at the minute, all he can do is like slowly improve his position, try and move his rooks around, and just wait and see what Jan Krzysztof decides to do. And here it comes. The rook starts moving up. Maybe he wants to double, come in with the knight again. Maybe he wants to go for you suggesting taking control of the center. And now what next, asks Nihal.
Yeah, whenever I'm analyzing these games, I'm always looking for repetitions, because sometimes grandmasters will draw to play the next game. And I was thinking knight c5, knight d7, knight b3, knight f6. But instead, finally, maybe his headset's off again, Nihal's playing my plan. I can't believe it. After I said the plan like 5 times, and Nihal said, no. Ben Feingold likes that plan. That's not what I'm doing. He finally decides to put the knight on d6, where it controls a lot of the squares on both sides of the board. Duda played one of my plans, f3 to play e4. That's why he played rook c3 earlier, defending his knight on b3, because the black bishop on e6 could be hitting that at some point. And the question is, now that Duda has played f3, is he going to play e4 right away and try to bust open the center? Or is he going to play the knight back on c5 now that the knight can't get hit by the black knight? So very interesting choice for Duda. Knight c5 or e4, those are the 2 most likely moves. Although I'm saying that, so he'll probably play a third move.
We never know what's going to happen. He could even be super patient and just step up with the king and go, hey, you know what? I also have the right side of the board where I can start challenging. And I got to say, for Nihal, he finally saw the light, Ben. He put his knight right where it should be going. It's a beautiful square for that knight. But like I say, Nihal very much playing the waiting game. He has to wait. Oh, look at that.
King f2, you were right.
Comes out, and now the knight goes on the edge of the board where we have the saying, and the question mark appears. Knights on the edge, fall off the hedge. Knight on the rim, are down, dim.
I've never heard falling off the hedge. That's a new one for me. I like to say knight on the rim, better for him, better for the opponent. I wonder if Nihal is going to play f7 to f5 at some point to prevent white from ever playing e4, or if he wants to keep the f5 square open for a bishop trade with something like bishop f5. So I'm not surprised by anybody's moves. Knight on a5 to keep the black rooks tied to b7. The king comes up. The rook on c7 defends the pawn on b7. So black puts the rook on the half-open file. Now white is playing the minority attack on the queen side, wants to try to play b4, b5 at some point. And very double-edged position with a lot of maneuvering going on. Both players still have a lot of time. Both players have a low heart rate compared to some matches we saw earlier today. I pay attention to the heart rate a lot because I don't see that very often. Bishop c8, pretty passive move, but now black can double rooks on the e file and put pressure on that e3 pawn that was weakened when white played f3. So Nihal has some initiative also. Basically, white's only plan on the queen side is to play b4, b5. Once black double, and he just played b4. Once black doubles rooks on the e file, I assume he'll play rook ce7 now, which he did. Now it's hard for white to play b5 because black has it protected so much. So both sides are doing what they want to do, and that's why the engine says it's about equal, the times are about equal, and this game is going to be decided when both players have about a minute left, and we'll start seeing some mistakes.
Yeah, I agree with you. It might be decided then, or if the players could decide to halve out and kind of find a way to repeat. Not that going to be that easy with so many minor pieces on the board. Remember, the players are not allowed to offer a draw until they've passed a lot of moves. We're already on move 34, by the way.
That's right, getting close.
We are getting close, and the clock is ticking down as we're seeing some decisions. okay, maybe this is a draw offer, saying, hey, let's repeat with the bishops. And Duda says, no, I have a handle to respect. Polish fighter, I'm going to keep on going.
Yeah, White has a idea to play knight c5 again, knight a5, knight c5. But again, only way for White to break through on the queen side is to play b5, but that's going to involve a pawn sacrifice. And usually, before we give a pawn away for nothing, we have to think a long time, which we don't have in this match. If White doesn't play b5, both sides can't do very much. And the only question is Nihal going to go for it and play f4 and try to get his own play with knight f5, putting pressure on the e3 pawn? Or is Nihal, does he think it's sufficient to just shuffle back and forth, keep the tension, and try to get him in the time trouble? Because that's where Nihal is his best, when both sides have a minute left. Then Nihal is probably the favorite.
Yeah, Nihal is quick, as we saw. But I got to say one thing. In all my experience of playing chess and commentating, there's only so much that a player can be patient. At some point, they will crack. They will get fed up, and they will start to open up the position and initiate action.
This is a really good game for my students, because I've been complaining the whole tournament. White plays h4, Black plays a6, and I'm like, what is this? This is move one. What's going on?
Yeah.
And now both sides are playing the plans that I like. Black's playing knight d6, Black plays f5, stopping e4, Black doubles rooks on the e file, White plays a4, b4, knight c5, playing on the queen side. This is exactly what I suspect. And in some of the games, if my students are like, how come White played h4, a4, knight h3? And I'm like, I don't know. That's not the way I'm teaching you guys. But this game is a very teachable game. Both sides are playing the kind of moves you expect them to play. I expect Black's going to play bishop c8 here, just stop the trade on d7, because then White could try to play b5 more easily. And White probably doesn't want his rook on e1 since it's pinned on the e file, so he might play rook b1 soon. Oh, he played knight d3, which also defends his rook. Maybe the knight's going to e5.
Exactly, and I think that knight is going to centralize itself, but definitely one thing is clear, the players are following the rule book. They're playing in very traditional style, they're finding those good squares for the pieces, and now here, see that knight, that white knight is a big thorn in Black's side. I'm expecting Nihal to not waste too much time on the clock and just offer up a trade, retreat his own knight, move it back and say, I want that knight gone, and then Duda has to consider whether he wants to make that trade or whether he wants to reinforce that knight and concede his own squares. But no, actually, I'm seeing something completely different. The bishops now just appearing, but I'm guessing at some point Nihal will decide that that knight in the middle is bothersome. But Nihal keeping me guessing as he's moving the rook.
Rook A8, a very unusual move. He's preparing for b5. White plays b5. He wants to take with the a pawn, get the open file for his rook on a8. He figures if White doesn't play b5, White doesn't have very much. And eventually, Nihal did do what you suggested, knight f7, getting rid of the knight on e5. White played f4, a very double-edged decision. Now Nihal can go back to d6, which he did before I said it, but I was about to say it because he wants to go to the e4 square. The knights are having their say, e4, e5. Black is doing everything he can to stop White from playing b5. He played bishop d7, knight d6, a6. He put the rook on a8, so the a file will be open for Black if White ever plays b5, and White played b5. So Nihal did everything he could to stop b5, and Duda played b5 anyway, because it was the only way to break through in the center.
He lost patience. He was slowly grinding things away, and then he had enough. He was like, let me just open up the position. And as a result, we now have a trade of rooks, and now Nihal is up a pawn. It's not much of a pawn because it is doubled, and they are all isolated, but it's still nonetheless a pawn up for Nihal as the clocks tick down to around the 2-minute mark. And for Jan Krzysztof, it's not going to be easy to actually even win one of those pawns back.
That's right. Probably he's thinking about playing rook c5. Jan Krzysztof is shaking his head. So whatever he had intended after the trade on b5, he decided he didn't like it. Shaking his head again. Times are finally Nihal's ahead on the clock. The engine says it's about equal. White's a pawn down. White has the magnificent knight on e5. Black has all these isolated weak pawns, but Black is a pawn ahead. Black has a knight going to c4. Black has a knight going to e4. And instead, he took the bishop on d7. He wants to win his pawn back right away. The b5 pawn isn't long for this world. But he couldn't take the pawn right away because the knight e4 checked. That's why he played king f3.
But I gotta say, look at the way that Nihal is with the black pieces cementing the position together. He's like improved his king into the center. He can even boot away that rook from his beautiful square. And suddenly that extra pawn is gonna start to count. And the knight is such a wonderful piece. It can jump into all of those holes. Okay, bishop takes pawn. Excellent move from Duda as the clock ticks down to 1 minute 33 seconds. I'm expecting Nihal to activate the rook, get those good pieces moving.
Yeah, things have changed a lot since about a minute ago. Basically, White's knight on e5, which was magnificent, is now gone. Materials equal. Black has a passed pawn. It's difficult for White to do anything because White's bishop can't really ensconce itself anywhere in Black's position. Whereas later in the game, Black can play something like knight c4, knight e4, or advance that b pawn. Black has some ideas. Duda's shaking his head still. Duda has less time on the clock. Things are turning around a little bit. Things have been going in Black's favor the last few moves. And both sides have about a minute now. It's going to really start heating up soon.
And this is exactly why Nihal has made that offer of a trade of rooks. He's like, let me get into this position where there's no risk for me to lose. And I can use that knight to absolutely annoy White. That knight is going to jump all around the board. And Nihal is the one who's going to easily be able to improve his position.
Yeah, the engine says it's equal because it knows if White defends perfectly, that White should be okay. Duda eyeing the f5 pawn, trying to put his bishop on c8, keeping Black's king tied down. Nihal says, no, you can't do that. Knight d6. No bishop c8 for you. And we could see repetition here, or we could see Nihal try to play for a win. But Nihal's taking a lot of time on his clock, trying to figure out a way forward. He plays h5.
He does. And one thing I got to say is that you do put a pawn on the light squared, and guess what weapon that White has is a light squared bishop. So that pawn could be a vulnerability as the knight does improve itself. And we're seeing Duda left to wait with the bishop. I'm expecting this one actually to fizzle out to a draw now.
Yeah, Nihal better watch out. He's got 25 seconds left.
Yeah.
So and Duda might try to win with the time that Nihal has on his clock, just that White can't do anything. Okay, he's still trying to win because he sees the time situation.
Well, hang on a second here. Look at this bishop. It's suddenly got his eyes on the black pawns, and the b pawn is advancing, but is the white king going to step forward? Or is
I think if king b4, I can play knight takes g3.
Yes.
And then h4 and break through on the king side.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we're seeing Duda getting a little bit frustrated, but everyone watch the clocks. As we see the bishop being captured, is now trapped on the edge of the board, and the white king is coming in. Oh, this one is tricky. He's gotten sharp with no time left on the clock. Which one's stronger, the pawns or the knight?
The engine says equal, of course, because the engine always does that to us.
It is equal as we're seeing the white king move up the board.
5 seconds left for Nihal. Ooh, a blunder of the pawn. Now black is winning. Oh, now it's equal again.
It's, well, look, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Nihal's going to get flagged.
Unless it's repetition.
No, it's repetition. He
had to not play king e6. He's pretty upset at himself. He had to play king d4, king d3, and win on time.
Wow.
Yeah, he didn't mean to repeat 3 times. That was an accident.
That was an accident. But there was a very real possibility that Nihal was going to get flagged.
Yes. Yeah, it looked like he was going to get flagged for sure. And he accidentally repeated for the 3rd time. Actually happened to me 2 weeks ago on my stream. I actually repeated for the 3rd time by accident when my opponent had 1 second left. So I know how Duda feels.
Yeah, and flagging is certainly an honorable part of the game. As we see our players getting ready for game 2. And this time it'll be Nihal with the white pieces. Jan-Krzysztof Duda, he'll be feeling a little bit angry with himself.
Yeah, that was an up and down game. It was pretty equal. Both sides had their advantages. It seemed like at some point Nihal was actually winning, but he had less than 10 seconds left. So, okay, now Nihal has white in the second game. If it's a draw, we'll go to Armageddon. They'll get to bid on time. If either side wins, they get to crush their opponent's key. That's what I'm waiting for today, is some key crushing. Wait, we had a key crushing about 25 minutes ago that was really loud. It was a scary key crushing.
It made us all jump. We'll see whether this game makes us all jump. Will it make us all cheer as we see our players getting ready? A head shake And we see we are off, and we see Nihal open up with the C-pawn. 6 is the response. Light square strategy from Yanchistov Duda. And here we are seeing just development. Now, the big thing is, later on in the game, do you think White will play this super aggressively, you know, flicking some attacks on the right side, or will we see a different type of game?
Yeah, this is a pretty solid game. This is actually exactly how I play with black against c4. I play c6, d5, and fianchetto my king bishop. And I've had these kinds of positions all the time. White played an early queen c2 to stop black from playing bishop f5. So black played g6. Black wants to play e6 and solidify the center, but doesn't want to block the bishop on c8. So a lot of times in these variations, black is super solid with that pawn structure in the center and trades off the 2 bishops, getting rid of his white squared bishop, which will be blocked by the pawns on white squares. White takes on d5. That's a little unusual after playing queen c2. And black takes back. White's going to get the 2 bishops now, unless Nihal changes his mind and retreats. No.
No, and the argument that Yanchistov is making is that, well, the pawn structure is almost symmetrical, and in those kind of locked positions, knights are actually not that bad. And one thing that we see is that the knight's getting maneuvered, and look at this, he knows the
same
bend,
maneuver as last.
moves.
I was just going to say it too, but he played it first. Same maneuver as last game, knight e8 to d6. Sometimes in these positions, white tries to get the knight to d3 also, but that's hard to do in this position. And a big practitioner of black's play in this position is American Grandmaster Gadakomsky. He likes to play g6 and Slav variations, maneuver around, move those knights around, keep the position blocked, and slowly outplay his opponent. We're not going to see a super exciting sacrificial game here. It's going to be much like the first game where they're maneuvering around. White has the 2 bishops, but the bishops aren't very active. Black is super solid. Black got rid of his white squared bishop, which would have been blocked by all those pawns. Every black pawn is on a white square. That's what you do when you have a dark squared bishop.
That's what you do if your name is Ivanka Hauska as well. Put your pawns on the light squares as well.
A Carol-Com practitioner, aren't we?
Yes, we are. And well, what's an interesting position here is that black does have a few plans, and this one's the most natural, which is just pile up the rooks on the C line and then just wait and see for what white will do next. Because I've got to say, this queen out there, this white queen is out there on a limb, and it feels like she has to be a little bit careful.
You don't get your queen trapped. So yeah, the queen has to be careful. Sometimes black can get b5 in, and queen takes a6 is too risky. Then the white queen can't really go back to d1, well, they must have heard us. They heard you, Yovi. They said queen c2, queen's going to go hide on b1. There's going to be some trades on the c file. If I was a betting man, I would say Armageddon is coming.
Yes, and indeed, I think you are giving good advice. As we're seeing, it's a very close position. Again, a very classical pawn structure. Everything is locked up, still a lot of maneuvering. And it marks a difference, actually, from games that we've seen in the past, as you kind of alluded to. Some of them have been wild from the get-go, and this one kind of feels like this could have come from the 19th century.
Hey, b5, something's happening. I thought the only thing that could happen is if one of the players decided to open up the center with e4 or e5, but that gives you an isolated pawn. So instead, black decided to play b5, get some space on the queen side, make knight c4 more palatable, and gain some space for those knights to come in and the pawns to go forward. The problem with b5 is it weakens the c5 square. So if black ever plays b4, white can play knight a4 to c5. So I don't think black's going to make any more pawn moves on the queen side. Once again, Duda looks like he's unhappy. Played bishop d3, he shook his head, then played bishop f1, one of my favorite moves. White's playing chess 960, putting all of his pieces on the back rank in strange fashion, getting ready for anything black can do. But those bishops, which don't look very good now, they can become strong later if the position opens up. That's what Duda's waiting for.
Exactly. Like, Nihal's playing so provocatively with all the pieces in the back row that you kind of be tempted to kind of go in the aggressive, start advancing pawns on the right side of the board, especially because the white queen is offside. But Jan Krzysztof Duda, very patient. He drops the knight back. What he wants to do is maneuver it around the board and find a good home. Knights love good homes. I'm expecting knight going to d7, maybe to b6. Maybe even a knight will jump into c4 and say, kick me out if you dare.
That's right. And I think white is going to play my knight c3 idea, or knight d3 idea, by playing knight f4, knight d3. And because black played b5 so early, the c5 square can't be defended by a pawn anymore. And Nihal must have expected that and played bishop h6. He says, Duda, if you play knight f4, I'm going to capture that knight and ruin your pawn structure. And my knights have squares, but your bishops are pretty passive. So I'm hoping white plays knight f4 because I want to see two knights versus two bishops. That'll give us something to play for. But I don't think Duda's going to do that because... I'm sorry, Nihal's not going to do that. Nihal has white. Instead, they trade rooks on the c file. And, he played knight c1. That's why he traded rooks. He's going to get his knight to d3 by hook or by crook. And eventually, black is going to be slightly worse if white can ensconce his knight on c5.
Yeah, and we're seeing Nihal. I'm going to say that in the battle of the maneuvering game, I'm going to say that Nihal has a teeny tiny advantage because at least he has a very clear plan. That bishop that wasn't doing anything, the dark square bishop, now it's kind of gonna come in and start eyeballing a knight and a queen. And also, as you indicated, that knight at the minute is almost stuck at home, but in two moves is gonna jump in onto a square on the 5th row.
Again, if you're just joining us, this is not chess 960. It looks like that's what white is doing, but Nihal just maneuvering his pieces, trying to get to good squares. Duda's trying to get good squares for his pieces also. c4 for the knight, e4 for the knight. But it looks like white has a little advantage because black played b5 early, giving up the c5 square. And black doesn't have total control of c4 because white can play b3 and kick the knight out.
Do you know what's funny, Ben, is that we are advocating that white has done everything well with all the pieces on the back row.
That's right.
Now, don't try this at home. This only works because the position is closed and also there's no tension in the center between the pawns. So in that case, it's all about just maneuvering your pieces and giving them good squares. In comes the knight, give it one more move and it's going to jump up. So this is why Jan Krzysztof said, nope, not happening. And the big question now for Jan Krzysztof and for Nihal is what next? How is Nihal going to open up the lines? Because bishops, they want open positions.
A friend of mine in Michigan used to jokingly say, don't put your pieces in the center. They might get hurt there. So white put all the pieces on the first rank and eventually they'll come to the center. The bishop on a5, that's the most active that bishop has been the whole game. Bishop a5, bishop b4, much stronger than on e1. The black knight goes to c4. The engine doesn't like it because white just kicks the knight away. And white's going to have the c5 square, but black doesn't have the c4 square, advantage white.
Yeah, and this could be potentially last game of the match. Whoever wins this one goes into tomorrow's quarterfinals. You lose, that's it. Your key gets crushed in the most brutal fashion.
Yeah, it was really loud the last time. Maybe we can get an even louder one. You don't want your key to get crushed. And my opinion is that's why Magnus likes this tournament so much. I think not only does he like the prize money and he likes beating his opponents, I think he likes crushing keys. I know I would like that if I was playing. Of course, I wouldn't crush anybody's keys. I get my keys crushed. That's why I'm not a participant. But if I could crush somebody's keys, then I would join the tournament in a heartbeat.
Well, I'm not sure I would enjoy the key crushing, but I agree with you. It's certainly fun to watch. And as Jan Krzysztof Duda considers how to actually find any good squares for his knights. Look at them. They are working against each other. They're both fighting for the same square. So that's why the bishop drops back. And now, what even to suggest? Maybe the knight's actually attacking that pawn on the edge of the board. Watch out, Jan Krzysztof Duda. There is a knight in town.
Yeah, Duda's unhappy with his earlier b5, which weakened the dark squares, weakened his a pawn, and he didn't get control of the c4 square. But he keeps retreating. Bishop f8, knight b8. This is why these are super grandmasters. They're really good at using the back rank and defending and attacking by maneuvering their pieces that way. And now, I actually like White's bishops. The bishop on f1, bishop on a5, they're both doing something. The question is White ever going to get a chance to play a4 and attack the queen side? Or does Black have that too well defended with the queen on e8 and the knight on b6? White can't open it up. Neither side's going to open the center. I think at some point, White just, White sacrificed a piece to win the piece back. Now he's a pawn up. I didn't see it. That was too simple a tactic. Both sides saw it, but I missed it.
It was there, and it was courtesy of that knight that was loose that White had, and that's why it's gone. But it has come with some consequences, because look at the black queen, look at the black rook. They are primed and ready to take control over that line. And the big question as Black, I think Black, you have to play super actively here, and you have to make sure that the weakness, that is that pawn, that's all alone on the B line, that needs to be fixed, that needs to be gone. And restrain is two counterparts there on the left.
Yeah, White's a pawn ahead. Judah doesn't like it, but Black has the C file. Black is trapping the bishop on A5. So Nihal has to do some serious thinking here, making sure his bishop on A5 doesn't get lost, making sure Black doesn't infiltrate strongly with queen C2. It's funny. It's sort of in a flux situation. We can't really attack the bishop. There's no way to attack it. We can't play queen c2 because the knight on a6 is hanging. So it's not clear here what either side should do. Both sides are getting less than 5 minutes, but it's not clear what plans they should do. And Nihal plays queen d3, attacking the knight. The knight retreats back to b8, and that bishop on a5 is still trapped.
Yeah, and that's actually something that is going to worry Nihal with the white pieces, because the bishop completely trapped. So that's why he came in with the queen, giving us a smile there. Judah getting active, that queen attacking the rook, attacking the pawn. And what will happen next? Where is that rook going to move? Is it really going to go all the way into the corner to defend that small pawn? Maybe.
Yeah, and Black has an interesting idea here. Black can play knight c6, defending the pawn on b4. Then if we get to trade for that bishop, we'll have opposite color bishops, where White's pawn majority isn't really very important because those pawns can't move. It looks like Judah's gone from a pawn down with a worse position to an equal kind of position, an equal game. And I think Judah's okay now. Judah's catching up on time. The last few moves have gone in Black's favor. Black sort of lost a pawn, but kept his equilibrium about him. And now it seems like he's doing reasonably well.
Well, look at this. I was talking about moving the rook. Hey, there is something in town called the counterattack. The queen comes up, attacks the rook. Nihal now says, okay, I'm going to move it. And again, the question for White. How are you going to move that rook? Where are you going to go? Going to go to the corner? Are you going to go to the middle of the board? You don't have too many squares. Or maybe you're just going to continue with the pattern. My queen and your queen are going to attack each other's rooks.
That's right. It looks like it's going to be repetition somehow. Both sides can do repetition.
Okay, he moves the rook.
Yeah, now we can play queen to d2, and we can keep attacking the rook. Repetition, Armageddon. It's all going to happen pretty soon.
Well, hang on a second here, because if you do capture that pawn, there's that knight that is on the edge of the board. And it doesn't have too many squares.
That's right. Also, if I play queen to d2, which I thought was repetition, White can play rook e2. And the rook is saved, and the a2 pawn is saved. Even though the engine says it's about equal, it's not clear what Black should do in this position. The b4 pawn is attacked. The knight's on the back row. White has the two bishops. White has the extra pawn. Still advantage to Nihal. Judah's trying to figure out the safest way to play. Very interesting. I think he's going to take on a2. I think you have to take that pawn.
Oh, but I think that Nihal is being sneaky here, because if you take on a2, then there might be problems with the black knight, and young Krzysztof Duda is just thinking, how is he going to ask the questions? And in fact, I'm telling you, there's only two ways to hold this one, Ben. You have to come out with your knight, attack the bishop, or you can step back with the queen and attack the rook and keep the momentum going that way.
Defending the pawn.
Yes, those are the only two ways. Wow. If you do anything else, then Nihal Sarin will be winning.
This is a very long think with both sides having 3 minutes. He's been thinking over a minute this move, Judah. He's not happy. He doesn't like his choices. He has a big time disadvantage now. Doesn't look very happy. Things are going in Nihal's favor because Duda doesn't like his position anymore. Oh, and he makes
not the way.
Quite a bad move. Rook C8. Engine hates it.
This is not the way. For starters, white can just simply grab that pawn. Bishop takes pawn, and you can just rest on your laurels, say, I am material up. And look who else is up. You see, Nihal's got more time on the clock. He's also got a higher heart rate as well, incidentally. But what is Jan Chistov's plan? Because you can just take that pawn.
Yeah, I don't see anything else he can do. I guess he was worried about Bishop C7. That's why he played Rook C8. But now he's just a pawn down for nothing. Black has very little counterplay, and Black can't play Rook C2 and double on the 7th because the knight on B8 needs babysitting. This is a pretty easy plan for White. B4, B5, B6, advance that passed pawn. White can also play Rook A1 to A7. This is a tough position now for Duda. It's looking good for Nihal.
Duda there on the brink, and I love your plan of activating your rook. Use all your pieces. That is one very nice way to go about this. You can also just advance your pawns. Past pawns are there to be pushed. And Nihal thinking, I think he's going to go for the rook. I think he's going to mobilize it. Such a natural move. He does it, Ben.
You're right, Yovi, again. Rook A1, the rook's going to A8 or A7, the pass B pawn. The extra time on the another passive move from
it's
Duda.
going from bad to worse.
Yeah, that's not good. Now White has everything. White can push the pass pawn. White can activate the rook. Black has no counterplay at all. There's nothing that Black can attack.
No, it's all gone wrong for Jan Krzysztof Duda with a series of bad moves. He's now just giving a winning position to Nihal. Nihal can just come in with the rook, and a win for Nihal would mean that he walks into tomorrow's quarterfinals. It's a repeat of last year. He advances the pawn. Okay, the engine is telling us not the most precise way, but hey, the engine's being pedantic. As a knight comes forward, what next? The rook can still come up the board, and you see it in the face of Jan Krzysztof. He's not happy.
No. Some people have poker faces in this tournament, and some don't. Duda has no poker face. He's been shaking his head probably more than any other competitor this game. And Nihal seems like he's pretty happy. Ooh, Rook A6. Hard to find a good square for the knight. Knight has to go to a terrible D8 square where it's trapped.
Yeah. And I mean, if it has to go backward, either to its starting square or over to the D8 square, that's simply going to just invite the white pieces to start improving. They're going to take full control. And remember, Nihal has a pass pawn. Okay, backward knight move the queen because she was attacked. This is beautiful. Complete control on the position. And the rook and the knight sleeping.
Now, this is resignable because B5 is coming and Rook A8 and B6. Okay, so he played desperation E5, trying to get something going, but that doesn't really help. Wants to get the knight to E6. But even if Black does that, he has nowhere to go. White can just start taking the center pawns now.
And you can see the frustration there from Jan Krzysztof Duda. He had to just go all in. He had to activate his pieces. He couldn't just live in that bind. Okay, the queen moving forward, keeping an eye on the B pawn. He is fighting hard, but it's too late as the knight doesn't have any good squares to jump into the position to trouble white. The queen comes forward. Now you can just escort the B pawn. Move it up the board. And sure, it comes. Thrown in checks. And watch the clock, everyone, because Jan Krzysztof down to 32 seconds, 50 seconds.
Oh, now White's threatening B7. Uh-oh.
Beautiful move.
That's annoying.
Yeah, that's a pin that's going to be almost impossible to get out of. Queen moves out.
Could still play B7 and Queen B8 check.
Beautiful,
Yeah,
and
he
it comes.
did. The game's going to end now. He's going to resign. He did resign. Nihal wins. Yay, one of my picks did well. I can't believe it.
Nihal Sarin is the winner, and he finds himself a spot into tomorrow's quarterfinals. What a match it was. It was tense, it was close at times, but in the end, Nihal Sarin is the winner. And for Jan Krzysztof Duda, it is goodbye. Keys are getting crushed.
He will be crushed, yep. That's the tough part of today, but that's every match today, somebody's key is going to get crushed. It's key crushing day.
And the elation there and the relief is there for Nihal Sarin as he makes it in a repeat of last year's performance. He makes it to the quarterfinals. Oh, that was a very tense game. A lot of maneuvering, very cagey stuff. And in the end, due to the time pressure and the fact that both players had so much tension in finding the right plans, in the end, it was some blunders, and Nihal is the winner.
Yep, very nice game, very controlled game. Taking advantage of Duda weakening his queen side with b5. White eventually got pieces on the queen side, eventually got a pass pawn, and won the game. We're going to go now to the stage, and we'll see some more interesting parts of the EWC that aren't necessarily chess, but some key crushing, I hope.
Another match and another time for a key being given away, as Jan Krzysztof Duda must give his key away to the rightful winner. But of course, as Mr. Duda leaves the stage, can I please get a round of applause for Jan Krzysztof Duda? Nihal, I'm going to come next to you as well for a quick one. Congratulations, you're making it to tomorrow's top 8. Last year, you were there in that top 8, and that's where your path stops. So what are your objectives for tomorrow?
Firstly, I'm just extremely happy to make the top 8 again. I'm happy I managed to play some good chess, just very tough matches, and yeah, I'm just right now I'm just very happy and relieved to pull through, and yeah, I hope to do well from tomorrow, but let's see.
And making it through the lower bracket today, is it a way to boost your confidence tomorrow? You know, you've been put back to the corner, going to the lower, forced to win again. Is that helping your confidence for the rest of the events?
No, for sure. I think also the format is very short, and you need to be very sharp from the start, and also getting just one win can make a huge difference psychologically. So I hope it's definitely helpful.
All right, well, listen, it is time now for you to go and crush your opponent's key, as Rob TV is waiting for you in the crusher. Ladies and gentlemen, can you make some noise for Nihal Sarin?
And just like that, Nihal Sarin is in familiar territory, crushing his second key in a row. Congratulations. Once again, officially qualified for top 8, and now he knows how this process goes. It's tough to see Jan Krzysztof Duda being eliminated from the event, but in the end of the day, nothing is given, everything is earned here at the Esports World Cup.